On this episode,
I just wonder if sometimes you're moving into a character and you're going, oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong voice.
No, I don't.
Good.
I'm in control of the voices. They don't.
Okay.
The characters don't control me.
No, okay.
I want to be clear about that.
from the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theater. Visit McCallumTheater.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Howard. Yes, we are back here at our favorite corner booth at Skip Paige's Little Bar, the center of the Coachella Valley universe. My name is Patrick Evans, and I'm here with my co-host, dear friend, and arguably the man that has defined the position of sidekick, Randy Florence.
Good afternoon, Mr. Evans. Thank you for letting me be here again.
Well, we're delighted. We're just delighted. And, of course, our producer, John McMullen. A big shout-out to John. And a big shout-out to our presenting sponsor, which is the McCallum Theater, gearing up for an incredible season. It is underway. There are some tickets left for some of your favorite shows, but I would check McCallumTheater.org sooner rather than later.
Burton Cummings is selling fast.
Burton Cummings, hasn't he? He's come and gone, hasn't he?
No, that's January.
Oh, it's January. Oh, cool.
So you still have time to buy me tickets.
I thought I'd missed it. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited about today's episode, and I'm sure our guest hears this all the time. But I grew up watching this television show. It was one of those touchstones, and I wanted nothing more than to walk into Cheers and see these guys sitting there. We have with us Mr. John Ratzenberger, who, of course, played Cliff Clavin on Cheers for, 11 seasons?
11 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, same uniform. That was the advantage. I didn't have to change outfits. I do the same outfit every day.
You know, for me, and I've been public about this a lot, Cheers my all-time favorite show for a lot of different reasons. Maybe my all-time favorite series of movies is the Toy Story movies. So I'm sitting here with Cliff Clavin and Hamm from the Toy Story.
Yeah.
It must be, at this point, how's it feel to know that you've been a part of such iconic stuff?
I don't think about it, to tell you the truth. But when I get a reaction from a kid, hey, hand me the pic, I get a kick out of that. The kid, I've had kids recognize my voice in supermarkets. So it's a treat. And John Lasseter, who was the boss of Pixar, he started Pixar, and he's responsible really for the greatness of Pixar. But I still work with him. He's over at what's the name of that company now? Boy, I shouldn't have had the beer.
You're the only person who's actually been in every Pixar movie. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I've passed on 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Because it was they started to get a little bit woke. That nonsense of they forgot that people want to be entertained. They don't want to be talked down to.
Yeah.
Told how to live their lives and what they should be thinking and saying.
And it's interesting you bring that up because there are a lot of recent movies have done not so well because they were not really focused on entertaining people.
Right. They think that everybody else is stupid. It's not just Pixar, but there's a lot of companies have done that. And that's the reason that Hollywood is doing so badly. And now with P. Diddy and his gang, I think Hollywood is long overdue for a good enema.
Seems like one may be coming. I grew up watching Cheers, and the camaraderie on that set. And you went through, interesting casting changes when Shelley Long left and Kirstie Alley came aboard. It changed kind of the tenor of the show, but you guys never lost a step on that.
No, we're sitting at a bar cracking jokes. That was our job description. Can you imagine opening your paper and they wanted somebody to sit at a bar and get paid really well and crack jokes. Oh, okay, I can do that.
I'll do that. You essentially created the character, though.
I did.
As I understand, you went in for an audition and kind of started spitballing.
You auditioned for Norm, didn't you, originally?
I don't know what the part was, but I had never auditioned in my life. Up to that point, I didn't go to acting school, and I was touring my own comedy shows throughout Europe for 10 years.
So you lived in London for a decade.
Yeah, for 10 years, yeah. And so just, we would, go to Munich, go to Paris, go wherever. Holland was a favorite of ours. And my partner, Ray Hassett, he went off later on and became a well-decorated undercover cop.
Really?
Back east, yeah. I still talk to him all the time. But so we basically made up our own material. We did our own staging, and neither one of us had a background in any of this. And so we would literally go on stage for an hour and a half, making stuff up.
You were improv, right? You did a lot of improv?
We didn't know that it was called improv at the time.
It was just making shit up.
That's right.
Making shit up. There you go.
That's what it was, yeah. There was, there were times, and when we got to be fairly well known after 4 or 5 years, there's a lot of noise being made about us. And we were invited to do a show at the Roundhouse Theatre near Camden Town in London. And he called me one morning and says, "Hey, we got that show today." I went, "What?" Yeah, so here we are. Now we're on the tube, the train. Say, what are we going to do? Well, we've got 1,000 people in the audience. We have no idea. We didn't prepare anything. Had nothing. But it was all this left-wing literati, like the Allen Ginsbergs and all. It just, they were there for some kind of a, patting each other on the back of how brilliant they are. So anyway, I was wearing work boots at the time, Timberlands. And so we get off the tube. I was still thinking, what are we going to do? What is gonna? And I spotted a store that sold fishing line. And so I went and bought a spool of fishing line, the kind of the plastic stuff that you can't see. So anyway, I made a hole at the tip of my boots and put them on one side of the stage. I went to the opposite side of the stage, and I told the lighting guy, look, when the curtain opens, put a spotlight, follow spot on these boots and just follow them. And I had no idea. I said, what? Something. So the curtain opens, a spotlight goes on these boots, and I start walking the boots across the stage. It's a pair of work boots. And maybe halfway through, I got caught on something, and one of the boots tipped over. I thought, oh, no. You got, all these people out there. So I finally got it unstuck. And so now you got one boot
standing up,
and the other one on the side. And the round of applause was deafening. It was like standing ovation.
Wow.
And I thought, what the hell are you clapping for? It's just crazy. Anyway, it turns out that what they interpreted it as was the suffering and the trials and tribulations of the working man. Because even if when he's crippled, or he still keeps going on, still struggles. It was a struggle of the underclass.
Well, that was amazing writing, John.
No, it's out of desperation, sure. But no, we traveled all through Europe, doing shows in English to audiences that didn't speak English, and really learned our stuff. Really learned what we were doing, and we got to be pretty good at it. So when it came to Cheers, it was the same thing. I didn't know Cheers. I didn't know what Paramount was. I didn't know the degree of any of the writers, or here's the Charles Brothers, Jimmy Burrows, and to me they're just some guys. And so I went in, and the casting director handed me the sides for those of you folks are wondering. It's just a couple of pages of the script that they want you to read and audition with. So I thought, that's nice. They give me this thing to read in so I know something. I stuck it in my back pocket. I just scanned it once and stuck it in my back pocket. I don't know. So I go and I'm looking around, and Jimmy Burrows, he says, what are you looking for? I said, a chair. He says, you're not here to chat. You're here to audition. And I thought, oh, boys, okay. So
It's going to be one of those.
yeah, all right. So blah 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 blah. It was horrible. It stunk up the joint. And as I was walking out the door, I said, "Do you have a bar know-it-all?" Because in the bar that my father used to frequent, there was a guy at the end of the bar named Sarge, and he was the font of all knowledge. It's kind of like, you know, if there's a bar bet and somebody says, "Hey, Sarge, what's the length of a whale's intestine?" He'd look at him and say, "Baleen or blue?" And even as a kid, I'm 10, 11 years old, you know, tell my father his dinner's ready. But I thought this was hysterical, even at that age. And so I did that. I said, every bar's got to know it all. At least in New England where I grew up. Everybody's got one horse's ass.
You grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut,
I
right?
did, yeah. And I still go back, pop in from time to time. But yeah, so I just improvised that character with a pen that the guy had on his desk. Well, it was a Bic, and I just picked it up and says, "Oh, a Bic pen." Now, people don't realize this, but Bic, two brothers named Biche, B-I-C-H, and they didn't. Somebody told them that bitch pens. I don't think they're going to sell, so they took off the H. And that's where Bic pens started, and that's a true story, by the way.
Wow.
And because I've always been fascinated with trivia of just things. I always like reading and figuring things out. And hey, why is that? You know, where'd that word come from? And all these essential parts of language. But anyway, they laughed enough where I could get out with my dignity. And I think that's all I was going for.
So were you like that as a kid? As a kid growing up, you were interested in everything and checking everything out?
Well, I had kind of like I guess it was like a Tom Sawyer upbringing. Lived right across the street from a shipyard. So I was always fascinated with what was going on. This guy's, what's he doing? Because when you have a ship or boat, you got to know electronics, diesel mechanics, carpentry. You have to know a lot of things. So I think just because of the way I grew up and hanging around the shipyard, I mean, even me and my buddies, after a hurricane, we found his boat washed up on shore and got it into my backyard. You know, took a page from the Egyptians who put some galvanized pipe underneath the boat and just pushed it, rolled it. But it's a big, unwieldy thing. And anyway, we spent some time fixing it. And I remember my father, in his wisdom, gave us some tools, say, here. But he never pushed us out of the way and say, here, let me do it. He said, go ahead. And so we had boards. We replaced some of the boards, planking at the bottom of the boat. And they weren't the same thickness. They're just, we'd stuff some caulking in there. Anyway, we got the
duct
boat.
tape. Lots of duct tape.
I don't think it was invented then.
No?
No, there's caulking and like a spackle kind of thing. And after, we put the boat in the water, and we all piled in. There had to be 6, 8 of us. You know, one oar was longer than the other, so
Going in circles.
yeah. So that's why that brings me to the point where, when you grow up like that, you learn a lot of things. One oar is shorter than the other. You're learning physics. You know, you got to stick one oar out further and bring one oar in. So you're learning all this. I'm like 9, 10 years old. You know, but not knowing I'm learning these things, it's just, okay, what are we going to do here? How do we make this? And so then we go out in the middle of the harbor, which is, it'd be a half a mile offshore, playing king of the boat. Just throwing each other off the boat. No life jackets. And I remember a couple of the mothers, my mother and Tommy's mother out there on shore screaming at us with I think my mother had a dish towel waving back.
Trying to get you to come back in?
Oh, yeah. We pretended we didn't hear him. But that's the way I grew up. Just, and you just naturally learn these things. I mean, Thomas Edison, I'm not saying I'm like Thomas Edison, but I do tinker. I like inventing things. But, he was brought home by his headmaster of his school, and the headmaster told his mother, "Your son is uneducatable." So he threw him out of school. 3rd grade. That's the formal education Thomas Edison had. And again, he grew up, it was on the shores of Lake Erie, and he just learned stuff. Just curious. And I think my philosophy is, set things out, make sure the kids don't kill themselves, but then get the hell out of their way. They'll figure it out.
And you're a big advocate of this. You've spoken in front of Congress about this.
Yes, I have. And that was because the apprenticeships, President Trump asked me to be on his this committee. This is, his last time in office, obviously. And there's a bunch of us, about 20 people. But it was to promote apprenticeships throughout the country and get kids using tools again, teaching them how to use tools.
Because you made a very good point when we were conversing a bit before we started recording. You said you can open as many factories as you want, but no one's going to be able to come and work for them because they don't have this hands-on experience. We're not really teaching kids that stuff anymore.
Right. And so many parents too say, "Oh, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't climb the tree." Oh, wait a minute, how am I going to build a tree house? Come on. But there's so many parents that stop children from learning. Oh, you're going to cut yourself. Well, maybe. Yeah, there's a chance. But
can't learn to ride a bike unless you fall off it once or twice.
Yeah, that's as we all know, failure is the greatest teacher.
John, are you an advocate that maybe another path young people could be taking other than college would be like technical schools and learn how to do a job?
I think, again, when they're very young, I remember I had an erector set. We all know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're all fogies around this table. But I must have been 6, 7. But I built myself a phonograph that worked. Little crank thing. Turntable.
Really?
Turntable went around. I had a hat pin stuck in the narrow end of a big piece of cardboard. I don't even know what you call it. Kind of paper, not crepe paper, construction paper. And you just to funnel it, and that's what the needle rested on the record. Yeah. But it worked.
Did you make a crystal radio when you were a little kid? I remember that. That felt like magic to me.
That was for the rich kids.
I stole it from one of them. So let's go back.
Randy grew up with a silver-plated spoon in his mouth.
Yeah. I couldn't get that out. It was so big. Bridgeport, Connecticut to London. What took place in between there? How'd you get to London?
My kids have been after me to write a book. Let's see. High school, Bridgeport. Bridgeport's a factory town. Basically.
Yeah, it's a blue-collar, working-class town.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'll say it is. Yeah, there's no snowflake kids there. They laugh at you. But, Bridgeport, and then went to college, Sacred Heart University, which turned out to be a really good school. I mean, when I went, to get in, if your socks matched, they get you. Say, the guy just look over at his desk and he's, you're in. But now it's just, real academic. And
What did you study at Sacred Heart?
English, because I already spoke the language.
You figured you were halfway there.
I figured it'd be easier. Yeah.
But you had a New England accent, which,
well,
sometimes you require a translator.
Yeah, well, especially from Boston. But
yeah,
I took the Cliff's accent because just before the show started, Julie Burroughs said, by the way, use a Boston accent. And I looked at him and went, oh, okay. So, but luckily, actually, it was one of the mothers that was waving the dish towel from shore. She was from Boston, and I used to mimic her. So her son was named Tom, but she called him Tom. And I'd go to the back door, hey, Tommy home? Tommy! Tommy, John's here. And I would just mimic her, just goofing around. And that's where I got that accent. But, yeah, Bridgeport's far different from Boston in the accent, as New Hampshire is from Maine, and, you know, there's a certain peculiar. Have you ever heard of the two guys? They're comedians, Bert and I.
No.
Oh. I've played it to people not from New England, and they look at me like I got lobsters coming out of my ears. But if you're from New England, it's hysterical. It really just it's the taciturn New England, hard to explain. But if you're from New England, you'll love these guys.
It's that's one of the parts of the country where you still have a lot of the regional almost dialects, not just accent.
Yeah.
And I'm sad about the fact we're losing a lot of that, and just people travel now when they used to not to, but we've really homogenized the country. We're losing some of that regionality, which is kind of sad. But I think it exists more in New England still.
Television has got a lot to do with that. Because kids grow up listening to television more than they're talking with their parents or grandparents. So that's where, they start losing the accent. Everybody starts sounding like David Letterman. It's a Midwestern accent.
Yeah.
So that's where everybody gravitates towards.
So when did you start getting the acting bug? When did you know that's what you wanted to do? Or did you ever get it?
No, I gotta laugh at that guy. Again, never having gone to acting school kind of thing, and so I didn't have any real heroes like Marlon Brando, or I had no ideas. But there was this gal that I was sweet on in college, but she was always in the acting deal, and so okay, there's a poster, just try out, Summer and Smoke, auditions. Okay, yeah. So, and I got the part of the understudy for the lead. Oh, this is great. I don't have to learn anything.
Oops.
And
you get all the credit for being in the production.
Just showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, this gal, she's flirt with her or whatever, And the night before opening night, the lead quit. And the director came back and said, John, it looks like you're on tomorrow night. Now, she assumed that I had learned to play.
That you knew what the play was.
I had done nothing. So I had not even read the play. And I'm on, tomorrow night. It was a Thursday or Friday, I forget. But so all that next day, the script girl, Phyllis, she led me through what my blocking should be, and I'm studying the book. Anyway, come curtain time, I knew what the play was. I knew the story. I knew who the characters were. So she's standing behind the curtain, just off stage, loudly whispering lines to me.
She's just feeding you all the lines. I love that. And
you could hear the audience uncomfortably just moving in their seats and coughing and looking at their watches. And, oh my God!
Tonight, the role of the lead is played by.
Right.
So it wasn't really an acting bug you got; it was more the comedy bug.
Well, that grew into it because, like I said, I knew the play, and at some point during this travesty I was causing, I thought, oh, the heck with this. So I just started making up my own lines. So I know that at some point, Miss Alma's got to come through that door, and this guy comes down. I know. So I started making up my own lines, and people started laughing, and I thought, oh, okay, I get it. At least they're paying attention. And So I finished the play like that. Afterwards, I think my family came and said, John, you were really good, but the other actors didn't know their lines.
Because you weren't feeding them their...
No.
They had no cues. No cues whatsoever.
If they had access to pitchforks and torches, my bones would still be swinging from a tree back there. But that's what... And then a fellow named Claude McNeil was in the audience, and he was a professor up at Yale. And he came back, he said, you're a good improviser. I said, what? I don't know what. And he said, yeah, you think on your feet, you know. Oh, okay, thank you. And that's what started me, was him saying. And then I joined, I mentioned before, Ray Acid, who...
How did you guys team up?
He went to the same school.
Oh, okay.
And we would just, I don't know, other people remind me of it. Guys from college, but we'd sit in the cafeteria and just be characters talking to each other and making people laugh. And there were always characters based on where we grew up. These, working guys, and still makes me laugh. I forget what the characters were or are, but people enjoyed that. And so he and I got together with a couple other people and formed Sal's Meat Market. we were an improvised comedy troupe, and we performed at school there. We had little shows but then I went off to North Vermont after school. I was a carpenter. And so I made a living as a carpenter up there, and this and that, doing the... there's Woodstock. That was in there, too, yeah.
Were you there?
I worked there. I was a tractor driver, carpenter.
Really?
Yeah. Helped build a stage. Anyway, I started doing one-man shows because they couldn't afford...
Two men.
Yeah, they couldn't afford... They hardly afford me. And I remember doing Crap's Last Tape by Samuel Beckett. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but I really enjoyed that. It was really tough, but I really enjoyed it. At the end of one show, the first show, a girl came up to me afterwards. She was bawling, she was crying, and she hugged me and says, "You understand? You get it? You understand?" I didn't know what she was talking about, but so yeah, okay. But then I kept going there, and then my buddy Ray, he was over in England instead of traveling north. He went to England, and he was a social worker. And he wrote me a postcard saying, you should come over and visit or whatever. And I didn't really have any money, but I got a tax refund check for exactly the price of a one-way fare to London.
The universe was speaking.
I was in God's hands. Okay, here you go, John.
Roll the dice, just go.
Okay, got on that plane, Icelandic Air, and I remember hitchhiking down to New York and borrowing $20 from a guy who was a friend of mine, and Bob Dada was his name, and I slept on his couch for a night or two, and then went to London, where Ray and I eventually got back into. So we were called Sal's Meat Market, and we toured through Europe for 10 years.
And were you doing all the same stuff you were doing in America, the voices and dialects?
Oh no,
it wouldn't have meant anything to them.
No, no, it did. Because they were familiar with American characters from movies.
Oh,
yeah. So we just took off on that, but not a lot of thought went into it. We just did what we thought was funny. There was no.
You were really trying to make each other laugh.
Oh yeah. Not only that, we were challenging each other. Say, okay, here, I'm going to throw this at you. See what you do with this. Because we had behind us on stage, there was just a black curtain, behind which there was a couple of tables, littered with different props. And the props were things we picked up on the way to the theater. Just happened to find. And, so at some point in the show, there's one we did, Trouble on the Night Shift, where we were 2 factory workers, and I'd go off stage left and grab something from one of the tables, put it on a different hat, and come out stage right. It's a different character.
A different guy, yeah.
But I neither one of us had any idea what that character was going to be until we stepped out on the stage. So, geez, yeah, that's what I grabbed. And so you use that as part of the show. But we knew where the show should end. But every night it's 80% different.
Well, that's got to keep it pretty interesting.
Repeat audiences all the time.
Yeah. And so you traveled all over Europe doing that.
Yeah.
So what brought you back to the States?
By that time I was writing. Both Ray and I were writing plays for Granada TV, and we did a show on BBC Radio. And at some point, I got asked to write a film that I had to go to Los Angeles for, based on the life of Gorgeous George, the wrestler. And
that was quite a personality.
People don't realize it, but Elvis Presley, Elton John, Muhammad Ali, all credit Gorgeous George for their personas.
Yeah.
Because there's outlandish personas. And but anyway, I came to do that. And then I was writing a late-night comedy for CBS with Ruby Wax. And that was based on the life of the Emperor Nero. That just pretty much wrote itself. He was nuts. But it was a comedy based on Nero. Anyway.
Laughing while Rome burned.
That's well.
Yeah, conveniently blamed it on the Christians. But that was actually the rise of Christianity, because he'd throw them into the arena, and people were amazed that the Christians, when lions were attacking them, they would just kneel down and pray. They wouldn't run, they wouldn't scream, and people went, "Oh, what is this? Who are these people?" And that's when the first curiosity about Christianity started. But so it's that's what brought me to Los Angeles, was writing that. And at the end of that, a guy I know who knew a guy who was an agent said, "Hey, you're from New England, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." I was actually ready to go back, what I considered home at the time was London. And he said, "Well, there's an audition going for a bar in New England." Yeah, okay, yeah, get me in there. And that was it. And
so you were telling the story, and you kind of saved your dignity by doing this improv bit about the bar know-it-all, and you got a few laughs. You walked out, and lo and behold, they called you back and said, "Yeah, we like that character. Come in and do it."
Right, yeah, 2 days later.
Wow.
I was actually packing my suitcase. I had forgotten all about it by the time I think I had a motorcycle then, but by the time I got to the parking lot, it was...
It's yesterday's news alive.
Well, because if there's anything that you don't control, you just put it in God's hands. Yeah, you've got nothing to do with it. I have no control over that. I have no control over that decision. Did my best, and now I'm out of here. But,
and am I remembering right that the early viewership of Cheers wasn't really high the first couple of years?
Oh, no.
Is that correct?
No, we were rock bottom.
Yeah. So when did you know, or when did you feel, John, like, this is going to be a hit? This is good.
It was actually 5 years into the show.
Really?
I think it's because of growing up in Bridgeport and working stiffs, and I go and do my job and I go home. Yeah. That's it. I never follow the ratings. Why?
That's one of those things out of your control, right?
I have no idea.
And the check was still coming in.
So they flew us to Boston to do. They said there was going to be people having some kind of a parade for Cheers. Oh, that's great. I'm thinking it's going to be a dozen people who shop in carts on the street. It turned out to be the largest crowd in the history of Boston. And that's including the Pope and the Red Sox.
That's phenomenal.
I remember standing there looking over the heads of a sea of people. And wow, I had no idea. I really did. Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was so fantastic about the show, and we talked about it a little bit beforehand, is new people would come in, people would leave, and yet the foundation of the show stayed pretty solid. When Woody came in, for instance, what kind of a change did that make to the show overall?
I don't know. I mean, it didn't bother me. I mean, it was just some other guy.
And you were doing the same character?
I was doing the same character, same thing with Norm.
So you created this character out of pure improv, but those shows seem to me, I thought the writing was brilliant. And so
yeah, writing was exceptional. Yeah.
So so it was no longer improv. You had to learn those lines. Like that was
sometimes.
But sometimes were you improvising with Norm?
No, I would. I think it was like the second or third year where the producers trusted me enough by then to say, because Jimmy Burrow to say, okay, Rats, you got to cover 30 seconds here. We're gonna move some cameras and you're gonna have a camera and you just come up with something. It's all right. And so I do that, and different shows, but I'd warn the other actors, hey, look, I'm going to change this a little. Okay. And I did.
You directed a couple of episodes, too, didn't you?
Yeah, 5 or 6 of them, yeah.
How do you like being on that side of the camera? Do you prefer it?
Just making a living in this business is fine with me.
Yeah.
If I'm building sets, trimming shrubbery, great. But it turns out that I knew what I was doing with the, because I look for the funny between the lines, and that's how I like working with actors. But I enjoy directing a lot. Yeah.
Who were your favorite actors to work with on the show?
Paul Wilson. He was occasionally he'd come in, and Paul and Harry Anderson.
Harry Anderson.
Yeah, that's right. He was a great guest star.
Yeah, he was always a treat. But those are the people.
First time I saw Harry Anderson, he was doing magic on the pier at Pier 39 in San Francisco before he'd gotten into TV. It was pretty phenomenal.
He moved to Asheville, North Carolina.
Now, you just did a podcast because Ted Danson and
Woody.
Occasionally Woody is there. Ted, I understand, is a little more consistent. So do you still stay in touch with these guys? Or
No, not really. If they call, that I'm there. And like the podcast they asked me to do, but I came out as a Republican a few years ago, and a couple of them won't even talk to me anymore.
Is that right? Wow.
Absolutely. I don't say which. Not Woody and Ted, but it's serious in Hollywood. They're like rabid dogs if they know that you voted for Trump. I've never seen anything like it. They'll scream at you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say or do.
And are you working anymore? Are you writing?
Cleaned out the garage yesterday.
And that turned into a three-part series.
I still do the voiceovers. And
you transitioned pretty nicely after Cheers wrapped up, because then you almost immedately went to work for Pixar.
Yeah, 26 years I'm working for them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Skydance. That's the name of the company. John Lasseter is running their animation wing, and so I'm starting to do some stuff with him there. And
how do you come up with the voices? Does it just organically, you look at the character, like Hamm, for instance?
You know what? I don't know.
No, it just comes out.
I look at the picture of the thing, whatever it is, and that kind of leads me into what their voice would sound like. Like in Ratatouille, for instance, I played a waiter, a French waiter, and he was very, very jolly, jowly,
Jowly,
a lot of jowls. And so, it's that kind of sound you want. That's what he say like the soup. Well, that's because he's jowly.
But you've been doing voices all your life, so it kind of transitioned, right? I mean, like, you were making up voices and characters.
As a kid, yeah, I guess, yeah.
But also with, you and Ray. And
oh, yeah.
So, like, that's just kind of built into you. Like,
I guess. I don't really think about really too hard on any of that. Again, it's, I guess you can call it a gift. If they're paying me for it, it's a gift. But again, that's nothing to do with me. It's just the way I've been constructed, the way I think, and how I interpret things.
You've done so many of those voices and so many iconic ones. Do you ever have a problem keeping them straight?
Oh, you mean, am I nuts?
That's my next question.
Is that what you're asking?
that seemed like what you were asking.
Yeah. I just wonder if sometimes you're moving into a character and you're going, oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong voice.
No, I don't.
Good.
I'm in control of the voices. They don't.
Okay.
The characters don't control me.
No, okay.
I want to be clear about that.
This seems like a really good spot to take a quick break and hear from our good friends at the McCallum Theater. You can go to McCallumTheater.org. You can hear a lot of voices there, too. They're not crazy either, Randy.
The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now. The world's top artists, from jazz, pop, classical, and comedy to the best of Broadway. Only at the Valley's favorite place for great entertainment. Tickets are on sale now at the McCallum Theater box office, by phone, or online at McCallumTheater.org. Tickets sell quickly, so order yours today. A new, exciting season only at the McCallum. The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now.
And we are back. Our guest this week is John Ratzenberger. You will remember him as, of course, Cliff Clavin from Cheers and any number of Pixar characters. And
for my granddaughters, I got to mention Hamm because they told me to bring it up. So.
Do you have a picture or something I can sign?
I'll get something. Thank you.
Well, okay.
So when did you decide to move to the Coachella Valley?
Why did I do that? My daughter's in-laws had a place in Rancho Mirage in this compound, country club, and I used it. It was vacant one week, and I said, "Hey, we want to use our." I said, "Sure," and I did. And I remember in the morning, I thought, "How quiet it is." I don't understand this. So I bought a place. And then I had a place in Connecticut. And then I sold that a couple of years ago. And so, yeah, it's working out just fine. And I like the airport.
Oh, easy in, easy out.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So besides cleaning your garage, what's a typical day look like for you now?
I get up early. I got a couple of boxes of fan mail. I just spent the weekend signing over 2,000 signatures because the Topps company, that people make the baseball cards,
right?
They also do. So they got a picture of me from Star Wars. And so, I mean, they obviously pay you. But, so they say, okay. But anyway, so this here is a little squeaky. Yeah, what else I do? Oh, yeah, and then I'll start tomorrow. I keep saying that. Mañana, I'll do it tomorrow. But it's fan mail. It's old.
That's really cool that you do that you answer it.
Well, he hasn't done it yet. But
assuming he does.
He's going to start tomorrow.
I think I just put the pressure on him.
No,
it's really cool that you're thinking about doing that, John.
No, I'm pretty faithful on that because I had an incident when I was a kid I was probably 4 or 5 years old. My mother took me to the circus and the sideshow, the Barnum and Bailey, and I remember being just transfixed at Johnny Kirk. He's a cowboy, and he cracked whips on cigarettes out of people's mouths, and bang, sharpshooting. And so I got a picture of him, I guess my mother said, an autograph picture. And then I left it on the bus. And I was, heartsick. And apparently my mother wrote to Johnny Kirk, and a letter followed him through whatever towns they were going through. And probably 2 years later, I got another photograph from him signed. And I'll never forget that. What a thrill that was. Now, I'm no Johnny Kirk, but if the fans out there, and you don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah. So you still get fan mail. Do they send it to John Care of NBC or Pixar? Or how does it get to you?
I got a place back in Connecticut, and then when they get enough, they put it in a box and ship it out to me.
Got it.
Now, you veered heavily into comedy, then you had this great run in Europe.
Yeah.
And was all essentially improv, even though you weren't calling it that. Were there other comedians at the time that you really thought were great at what they were doing? Or,
yeah.
I mean, who did you really admire when you were doing that work?
One of my big influences is Jacques Tati, the French comic actor. And judging by the looks on your faces, you've never heard of him.
No.
So,
you are correct, sir.
yeah, it's like that RCA dog where your head tilts. You go, what the hell did he say?
We're culturally bereft.
If there's a film called Mon Oncle, which was my uncle, and Mr. Hulot's Holiday. And I just watching this guy, again, it's French, and it had to be post World War II, I'm guessing. But Jacques Tati, T-A-T-I. And you watch him, you just have to be patient because the rhythm is much slower. The setups are much slower. And it was hysterical. And that's actually in honor of him. I had the people at Cheers hike up my pant cuffs so you could see my white socks.
Is that why you did that?
Yeah, because of Jacques Tati.
That was such a part of Cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I still have, but Jacques Tati, you know who else? Stan Laurel.
Yeah.
Just, he was perfect. He was a master. Just his look, his motions, it was like watching a ballet.
Yeah.
With him, because he's the one who made up all the comedy bits for Laurel and Hardy. Ollie would just show up and basically say, okay, but Stan he was the comic. And but it's funny, years later on Cheers and whatnot, John Cleese came and did a guest spot for us. And I had a long talk with him about Jacques Tati, because that's where he also, he did a funny walk, but he was influenced greatly by Jacques Tati. But, that's about it. Contemporary people, not so much. I think Saturday Night Live, they have their moments, but they're all like they grew up on the same farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you watch for entertainment now? I still watch Cheers, but
me too.
Boy, I couldn't tell you. I like history. Things to do with history and historical events. But I'm a kind of big history buff. I'm fascinated by the Battle of Vienna in 1683, the largest cavalry charge in the history of the world. And it was Western civilization was saved by the Polish cavalry. of all things. It's never been a movie that I know of made of it, but it's just. I don't want to bore. I don't want to. I could go on for hours on this.
I'm a bit. I mean, when we travel, I always like to go to, historically significant places where, and that's why, like when I first went to Rome and stood there in the Forum, and you can go to the place where they stabbed Caesar, and you just think about the immensity of the moment that happened at that place, and so I always find that.
Yeah, it's exactly that. But the little thing, and that's the funny thing about it, because it was the Polish cavalry that came in at the 11th hour as the Muslims were just about to overrun Europe. They've been trying since that long ago. And the Polish cavalry, under the leadership of King Jan Sobieski, defeated them. And the Polish, the hussars, they had big wings on their back. They're manufactured. But it was made out of such a material that when you got 10,000 of these guys rushing you, it made a thunderous noise. And so the other horses go, what the
Get the hell out of there.
I'm gone. But they were, up until World War II, the Polish cavalry was the most feared cavalry in the world.
Wow. You are the bar know-it-all. See, he is.
No, but it's true.
Just happened.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It is true. This has been fascinating.
It really has.
This is so much
thank you.
fun.
Thank you, John. This is awesome having you do this.
How did what?
Having you do this, sitting in here with us. This is really great. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, see, you got me thinking of the Polish and and World War II. The Polish pilots that fled Poland at the Battle of Britain. They put them in planes in Britain, and they shot down more Nazi planes than the Americans and the British combined.
Wow. That I also didn't know.
Yeah, they saved England, and nobody knows about it. But
They don't get the credit.
not only do they not get the credit, but they were. Churchill kept them out of the victory parade because Stalin asked them to. Because Stalin didn't want any Polish heroes lionized because they were taking over Poland.
Right. Yes, that was behind the Iron Curtain. So
these pilots who saved Britain
never got recognized.
They were in the crowd watching it go by, watching the parade go by.
This is the most that I have learned on one of our episodes.
I know. We need to have him back just so we can learn more about
100%.
history.
This is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a book I'll let you read.
Yeah?
I only got one, but it's big, thick. A lot of stuff in it.
I've heard.
Our guest today, John Ratzenberger. Thank you so much. Coachella Valley Now resident.
Yes.
Delightful to have you on the show. It's
Thank you.
Such a fun thing to actually get to sit and chat with you after watching you all these years on TV. It's a real thrill.
Thank you, and likewise. After watching you on TV for a long time, I keep thinking that guy knows what he's talking about.
It's hot.
It's hot out here. It's hot.
The thing that cracks me up, though, you don't have it here, but when they have like a hurricane in Florida or wherever, they'll send some guy out there, and he's on the beach being blown sideways. For what? Like, we don't know, because we can see the trees bending. We can see the waves lapping the beach. You got to send a guy out there.
Actually, how come when it's 127, one of you isn't standing out there in the desert telling us how hot it is?
Oh, no, we send Spencer out.
The young guy.
Send the kid out. No, it is true. It's funny because we also are often, while you have one guy out there in the middle of the hurricane, we're telling people, whatever you do, don't go out there. It's dangerous. You could lose your life. But then we throw some guy out there. It's like,
then you put somebody out there. Waiting for him to get hit by a mailbox or something.
That's tomorrow's story.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Ratzenberger today. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, John McMullen. And, of course, thank you to the McCallum Theater, our principal sponsor. And thank you to Skip Paige and the entire team here at Skip's Little Bar. Stop by, have a cheeseburger, come and enjoy one of the greatest tiny little bars on the planet.
That cheeseburger looked good, by the way.
Oh, it's good. It's a terrific cheeseburger.
You're going to love it.
This is Big Conversations, Little Bar. Subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations, Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Paige's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, the center of the Coachella Valley universe. And presented by the McCallum Theater. Online at McCallumTheater.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify.